Okay, the title of this presentation is DFSP level processing issues and corrective actions for EBS converted locations. So everyone online at this point has or should have been converted to EBS. My name is Scott Pashowski. I work for Cognizant International on behalf of DLE Energy. We welcome you and thank you for joining us today. Next slide. Some of the issues that we've noticed and what we're going to cover today are issues related to data upload and result data download from FMD Enterprise. Also issues with suspended shipments and receipts. I'll cover that. And last, processing of contract receipt transactions. Next slide, please. Okay, start off with a little disclaimer here. Failure to adhere to the following outline procedures will result in locked transactions. Some of you may have experienced this. Transactions will either become grayed out, become a salmon line, or otherwise uneditable. Failure to adhere to the following procedures will cause significant work on the part of DLA regions, DLA Energy Help Desk, and base-level personnel. Multiple scripts will be required to correct these issues, which will delay base-level processing times. Delays in processing times will result in significant financial implications to DLA. So please pay attention to the following slides. Next slide. Okay, now what we're looking at are data upload and result download procedures within FMD Enterprise. The first step, and what I've highlighted there, these are procedures for sites that have FMD 6.0. There are some sites that have FMD 6.0, also FMD 8 sites that are still configured with the legacy DODAC, meaning you still have an FT DODAC for the Air Force or November DODAC for the Navy and so on. This is who I'm talking to right now. For the others, I'll get to you in the next slide. So the procedures here for the FMD 6 and 8 configured as 6.0 or legacy DODACs. The first step, and this hasn't changed, you're still going to create the VCF file in your local FMD ledger. The second step, upload the VCF file into FMD Enterprise Server. From here on out, I'm going to call it FMD ES. That's how you'll see it labeled. But that's the FMD Enterprise Server. Third step, check for suspended shipments and receipts. So for those that are still using 6.0 or have the 8 configured with the legacy DODACs, the first step now is to check for suspended shipments and receipts. I'll get into that later on and show you a screenshot of what it looks like. The fourth step, after you've uploaded, wait a minimum of 20 minutes and then check for rejects. Give it 20 minutes, allow time to the system to process these transactions, TBS. The fifth step, check newly uploaded transactions for SAP ID always. This is a newly added step in these procedures. I'm going to show you this later on, but again, remember, step 5 here, you're going to check for SAP IDs, some of the transactions that you submitted. Step 6, download and import results file always. Always download regardless of rejects. In the past, you may have called it a reject file. It's no longer called a reject file. It's now a download import of download file coming from Enterprise. A results file. And the reason for that is because now it contains information from EBS that will be fed to your system. It's a results file. You're going to download it every single time. Number 7, make corrections in your ledger if necessary. So after you've downloaded, and if you do have errors or rejects in this case, you can fix those and then repeat the steps. A couple of things I want to mention though. In step 3, for the suspended contract and receipts, you're going to have additional fields that you have to fill out. So for example, for 6.0 sites, you don't have these fields in your ledger. You will see them when you receive the suspended receipt. They are the acceptor email, acceptor name, acceptor phone numbers, and the acceptor title. These are individuals that the RO at that site has deemed or approved as the acceptor on behalf of DLA Energy. Okay, and I also want to mention that the date commenced, I'll get into this later on, the date commenced will be left blank except for the trans modes of barge, pipeline, or tanker. I'm going to discuss that later in this brief. And the last thing to mention, on step 5, check for SAP IDs. If you do not see an SAP ID within 24 hours, contact the Energy Help Desk. Okay, this is an example of the upload and download screen. What you're looking at is FMD Enterprise server. We're under the Import-Export button, and then you'll see Enterprise Upload Manual. So on the top right, there's a Browse. Then you'll have an Upload button in the middle, and then a Download. So this is going to be used for both those, uploading and downloading. Okay, this is what it looks like. Next slide. As I mentioned, the suspended receipts, this is new with EBS, and this is specifically for sites in sub 6.0 or 8.0 configured with the legacy DODAC. You will see the suspended shipments and receipts. This example is suspended imported receipts. Okay, so you'll navigate through, next slide please. And this is what it'll look like. So this is an example of a contract receipt. Again, it's important to add these. You have to add these in order for this to process through EBS. They accept your name, accept your phone number, accept your email address, and the acceptor title. Okay, once you submit that information, the transaction will process to EBS. Okay, and I mentioned the error summary. This is an example of the error summary. If you see these, so if you've uploaded your VCF file to Enterprise and you check your error summary, it's a good way of knowing that at least the system is working and it's sending the transactions. Okay, and then I also mentioned checking your SAP ID. So I've just highlighted here the SAP ID. This lets us know, as accountants, that this transaction has been sent to EBS and accepted in EBS. Again, the SAP ID. Next slide. Okay, so what I just showed you was for 6.0 sites or 8.0 with legacy DODACs. Now I'm going to cover 8.0 sites with the new EBS DODAC. An example would be SE5427, your SE DODAC. Step 1, just like the other, can create your VCF file in your local FMD ledger. Step 2, upload the VCF file into FMD Enterprise server. Step 3, wait a minimum of 20 minutes, and then check for rejects. Step 4, always check for the SAP ID of some of the transactions to make sure that it processed and was accepted at EBS. Again, if you do not see an SAP ID for that transaction, within 24 hours, contact the help desk so they can help you. Step 5, download the results file. Always download regardless of rejects. As I mentioned, this is going to pull information from EBS that will then go into your FMD local ledger. So it's very important that you download the results file every single time. Step 6, make corrections as necessary. And then step 7, repeat the process. If you have errors, fix them, and then follow these steps again. Okay, again, this I've showed you before, but it's the same screen. This is the data upload and result data download file on Enterprise. Like I mentioned before, check that SAP ID. This allows you to know that the transaction was accepted in EBS. Now I want to transition into processing of contract receipt transactions. There's been some common issues that we've noticed. So DFSP person or users continue to experience issues successfully processing contract receipts. And some of the issues that have prohibited them from processing these transactions are the first one here, CLIN, the CLIN number. Always use 0001 for the CLIN, for contract receipts. This is a change, so please remember this. Always use 0001 for that CLIN field. contract number should always be in the format of number, alpha character, and then followed by 4 numbers. We've noticed that some users are not entering that alpha character, so I'll give you an example. If the contract number was 13D as in Delta 1, 2, 3, 4, it's important to enter that D. So again, number, like 1, 3, D as in Delta or whatever the letter is, and then followed by 4 numbers. The shipment number should be obtained from EEBP, the order that you process in EEBP, or DIDS. The shipment number is also a change. In the past, it was PCS and then whatever the Julian date was. That is now a change, so please listen up. The shipment number now is constructed with DLA, day, month, day. DLA, month, so today would be the DLA 1219. That would be the shipment number of today. The order number. This is where if you're not sure what the order number is, you can find it in EEBP. That's where you place the order, or you can also find it in the DIBS on the 1155. And then finally, the date commenced. The date commenced should be blank for all trans modes except for barge, tanker, and pipeline. Basically, anything that occurs that you receive on that day, it was lifted and received that day, will be left blank for the commencement date.
Commencement date.
If the receipt occurs over 2 days, that's when you would use the commencement date, but if it's all on the same day, you leave it blank. Processing of contract receipt transactions. So this is continued here, but I wanted to highlight some fields for you. So this is an example of some things that were actually wrong on this transaction. So in blue, you'll see the date commenced. Even though the fuel was received that day, there was still a commencement date. So that should have been left blank. Also on the right, the CLIN, again, will always be use 0001. Some other things to mention. The shipment date on the top right, I've highlighted in red. It's DLA month, day. Also, I've highlighted the contract number, the order, and the SAP ID, as I mentioned earlier. That allows us to know that the transaction was submitted to EBS and was accepted at EBS. So now I want to take a look at EEBP. This is ordering contract receipt information. So in the event that you are unaware of what the order number or what the contract number is, when you go to process this transaction, you can go to EEBP and look for it there. So this is showing you same place where you order the fuel, EEBP. You'll see your contract. Next slide. Okay, then it'll give you a list of the open contracts that you have and grades. So we're going to select the correct grade. In this case, it's DS2. I've highlighted it. Next slide. And now within the screen, we can see the contract number. We can see the order number. We can also see the ordering DODAC. So if you look at the second field that says delivery order number, you'll see the contract followed by 4 characters. Those last 4 characters are the order number for this transaction. It's very important that you process this and enter that into your order number field in F&D. I should also mention on the top of this, you may see one that has 2 additional characters, 01. That means there's been an amendment to this particular order. But when you enter this transaction into your F&D ledger, you don't enter the amendment number 01. You just enter the 4 characters of the order number. Notice a lot of problems with this. Some other issues with receipts we've noticed. You may have seen this error 68, error during tolerance check for TD shipment. I just want to explain a little bit of what that is. So it means that the shipped or received quantity was out of tolerance set in the nomination. If you get this, verify the quantity and that you have used the proper contract or delivery order. If everything is correct, contact the help desk for assistance with that. If you've entered everything correctly and you're still receiving that error, contact the help desk. They'll have to send that ticket up to the supply planner to correct the nomination. I also put in there multiple trucks received on the same order on the same day should be rolled up, should be a rolled up receipt. So if you have 2 deliveries, same contract, same order, 2 different deliveries, you roll those up into one quantity, one amount. Last note I have there is a receipt that exceeds 10% of the order amount must be amended prior to submitting the final receipt, or the transaction will reject. So, let me give you an example. If you've ordered 7,500 gallons and the driver brings 6,000, it's outside of the 10% variance. If you proceeded to process that transaction, it would reject because it's out of the 10% range. So in order to alleviate that, you can go into EEBP and modify that order to the amount that you received before you process that receipt transaction. And it's generally good to wait about 24 hours after you modify that in EEBP before you process your receipt. This will give it time to update an EBS. So again, if it's outside the 10% variance, you can modify an EEBP. This next screen, I'm going to show you how to do that. Next slide. Okay. I followed the same sequence of steps as I showed you with EEBP on going to that particular, to find your order number and contract number. I just took it one step further and highlighted the order that existed there. So this particular order is closed, but if it wasn't closed, I would have an option to modify this. I can modify the quantity of the amount that I actually received, save it, give it 24 hours, and then process your receipt. You will not receive an error in that case. Okay, this must be pretty important because I put it in here twice. Failure to adhere to these previously outlined procedures will result in locked transactions. Transactions will either become grayed out, become salmon line, or otherwise uneditable. Failure to adhere to the previous procedures will cause significant work on the part of DLA regions, Energy Help Desk, and base level personnel. Multiple scripts will be created or required to correct these issues, which will delay base level processing times. Delays in processing times will result in significant financial implications for DLA. Next slide. Provided some useful links for you. So there are some CBTs that exist that will help you with this process. If you haven't reviewed the EBS rollout overview CBT, it's good general knowledge of what to expect with EBS and how it may affect you. Also, the FMD8 CBT gives you detailed instructions on how FMD8 works. Also, we've added the coach page, which will give you a manual for FMD version 8, also FMD version 6, for those still using that.
So even if you know the CLIN, you still use 0001.
And the answer is always use 0001 in the CLIN. So yes, when you're entering that transaction in FMD for that receipt, that contract receipt, always use 0001 for the CLIN. We had a question.
How do you receipt an emergency fuel buy?
So if you do have an emergency fuel buy, in that case you still order the fuel in EEBP, so you can still access EEBP to find out what the contract number is and what the order number is. And still, again, CLIN will be 0001, so you'll have enough information to process that transaction.
Another question, we have not been able to process since the first day of December. What is the time frame to get us to where we can process again?
Okay, so the answer to that would be not 100% sure about the timeline, but the help desk is going through these. You're not the only one in that boat. And whenever they initialize you in EBS and set you up, they will notify you. So it's until the notification.
Okay. Is there a requirement to check the SAP ID daily?
Absolutely. Every time that you send these transactions, to enterprise. Yes, yes, yes.
What is a stow on the 1348-7?
So the stow is a new part of EBS as well. You should receive that as a stock transfer order that comes from either the region or someone will email you that may be planning, and you enter that into the transfer receipt transaction. It will not process, and it will not process to EBS without that, so the stow is very important.
So the other thing on the stow to keep in mind is that stows are typically used with transfers of DLA stock already. So if we have an into stock receipt directly off of a contract, we won't have a stow associated with it. There'll be a nomination, but again, you don't have to worry about putting in that nomination if it's an EBP order. The system generates it. However, and we have this situation in a number of locations. A couple of examples would be Davis-Monthan Air Force Base ships to other DFSPs, as does Anchorage ships. DFSP Anchorage ships to JBER. And in those cases, since it's going from one government one DLA location to another, it's a stock transport order. And as Scott said, you will get a notification of what the stock transport order is. So when you ship that transaction, you will fill out the stock transport order, and when you receive it, there's a field to put the stock transport order in as well. But again, that applies to DFSP to DFSP. It doesn't apply to receipts directly off of a contract, like when you receive MoGas off of a truck. You don't need to worry about a stow.
Another question that came up on that just said, is it strictly for jet fuel or for both jet and ground fuel?
Typically, it's for jet, and I think for Davis-Monthan they actually ship ground fuel, so it could apply to ground fuel as well.
Okay, here's another one. Why is some information being stripped coming from FMD into Enterprise, i.e. the acceptor name, email?
So the question was, why is some information coming up that you input in FMD and not making it to FMD Enterprise? So the answer, it's a little more complex, but if you're using a site that's configured with one of the legacy DODACs, so you're using FMD8 and you still have an FP5000 DODAC, or you're using FMD6, those two variations of FMD are designed to talk to the FES that you were all used to. The FES doesn't use those fields, so the output file that comes out of those versions of FMD don't include those. That's why you have to go into that suspended receipts field on every shipment receipt and make sure you add that information. Once you get to the final version of 8.0, you'll no longer have to worry about doing that.
Okay. Another question. How long should it take to get contacted for the stow? I mean, when should they receive the stow, they're asking?
You should receive the email on the stow as soon as the movement is planned. So if
Finalized.
Yeah, it's finalized. So if you're not getting the email, you need to reach out to your region POC so they can make sure that your address is added and they can provide you the stow number.
Why does the stow change weekly?
Changes on every order.
So
The
question is, why does the stow change weekly? Each movement or each nomination is a separate movement. So each one has a new identification number.
Another question came in. Guest received error 68. Buyer's Dodac does not match the Dodac, so it's Buyer's Dodac SE5. F2M does not match the Dodac SE5 F19 for location ID nomination. Why would that be the case?
Is that for a receipt or camp penalty?
Those aren't Buyer's Dodac.
Barnsing?
Can you repeat the question, please?
68, Buyer's Dodac SE5 F2M does not match Dodac SE5 F19 for location ID Barnsing nomination number.
It sounds like an issue with
It sounds like the issue is that the wrong order number was processed on a receipt. So the order number contract combination isn't going to match what's on the nomination. In that particular error that they're talking about, that was for Camp Pendleton, and the issue was that the order had an incorrect delivery Dodac, which has since been corrected. Anybody that needs assistance correcting those, they can email that email address we provided earlier. It's energy.asg@dla.mil, and we can assist you and provide some additional training on how to correct those.
You have more questions?
Well, there's a whole bunch of them. Some of them don't pertain. Some of them
maybe you should just open up the one.
All right. Again, we're going to open up the lines. This is for DFSP personnel. There will be a follow-up session for DLA employees. So I'm going to open up the lines. We'll try to do this one at a time, so bear with me.
Is this DLA agency's first over?
Okay. I didn't catch your name.
Yeah, this is Dave Ray from America's West. I got our resolution specialists and some supply planners in the room together here, about 8 of us, and we have some questions on the 0001 Clem. I'll let some of our resolution specialists ask the question.
Hey Dave, we're gonna open this for the DFSP personnel. We'll schedule a follow-up meeting with you guys after this one.
Okay, good, no problem.
We'll go into detail with it.
Got it. Stand by.
Any other questions?
Would anybody not asking a question please go ahead and mute your phone line? We've got about 200 people on the line, and we would like to be able to address as much of the DFSP's questions as possible. That being said, anyone else has a question, please feel free to ask it.
Yes, I do.
Okay?
It's Ronald Lackey from Madison Army Depot.
Okay?
Actions from the DOD-FM. They own server that belongs to DLA. We have to burn them actions to a disk to move them over to another computer that will actually connect to the internet. We're going to move them from that disk into the EEBS.
So what I'm hearing is you're currently using a standalone. You're currently using a standalone computer to communicate with the gas station. You're downloading your PRN file from the gas station. You have to then burn it to a disk and walk it over to a computer that has internet connection that you can upload it to FMD Enterprise. Is that correct?
Correct.
What's your question?
How do we do it?
You need step-by-step instructions?
Do what?
You're having trouble doing that?
Well, so far, I'm like one of them other sites. We ain't been able to do anything since the 1st of December. I was just wondering, will we do it basically the same way that we did before when we was using Enterprise?
Yes, sir.
So nothing's going to change for you except the URL will be a different URL.
Okay. That's what my question was, and I believe y'all answered it.
Not a problem. Again, if you have additional questions like that, please feel free to go ahead and send those to energy.asg@dla.mil,
we'll be happy to come up with a response for you and provide assistance that way.
All right.
And also, I don't believe your site's been activated yet, so.
Yeah, your site is still in process of being activated for EBS.
Hello, sir. This is Rex Bedore from Fort Benning, Georgia.
Hi, Rex.
My question is, now that I have two different DODACs, one for Dahlonega, Georgia, and one for Fort Benning, I have to process each one separately?
Yes, we have to treat those two locations as if they were two separate geographically isolated bases.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Was that your question?
Yes.
All right. Anybody else? No problem.
Yeah, this is Sean Vaughn out of Joint Base McGuire. I had a question in regards. We currently ship jet over to a guard site that has not been activated yet in the EBS. Where will we obtain this STO from to do these shipments?
So, you should still be receiving the notification on your side, even if they're not processing the subsequent receipt for it on their side. They actually have a separate STO number than what you. So if you haven't received the notification, you can either send us an email, reach out to your region person, or you can contact the help desk and we'll be able to help track that down for you.
Okay, so just contact the help desk or a region manager?
Yeah, or us, and what we want to do is verify that we have the right contact information if you're not automatically receiving those STO numbers via email.
Okay, all right, we'll put in the help desk, take it and contact our regional in regards to the situation.
All right.
Thank you.
Sergeant Valentine from Salisbury, North Carolina. After the transition, we will still be able to check the hub for all the transactions.
No, once you've converted, the FES is no longer available for any future transactions to view as either a buyer or a seller. You should still have an account created with only read-only permissions, so you can go back and look at your historical information.
The reason I ask is for the ROs, so they can go in and access things.
We'll probably do it Monday.
The financial officers?
Yes.
Yeah, we have a buyer CBT that'll be coming out soon, but the short answer is that they'll no longer go to the FES. They'll actually have to go to the EEBP, and they can manage their accounts that way.
Okay, and that'll be information put out when the help desk brings us online.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you a lot.
Yep.
Yeah, this is Chris Bosa at Uniontown Gap, and I actually have two questions. I'll try to get in real quick.
Okay.
First one would be regarding the 10% variance on contract receipts. If we actually have to modify the order so it doesn't reject, does that eliminate the requirement to submit the TDR?
No, we have two separate issues with that. The 10% variant is actually a variant on the order. So if you requested 10,000 gallons and they delivered 9,000 gallons, quantity shipped is still quantity received. That's that tolerance. What you're talking about as a TDR is if they say they shipped 10,000 gallons, but you physically receipted and know for sure that you only received half of that, that's what would generate a TDR. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And my second one involves DD-250s. Have those gone away, or how are we getting those to verify the paperwork?
The DD Form 250s are no longer being generated. The information that you need to support the transaction is either the information that comes out of EEBP like we showed you in the slideshow, or you do have the ability to go in and download a DD Form 1155, which will show the order.
Okay, thank you.
Carrier code contract.
Yeah, so this is Luis Lugo from Kings Bay, Naval Base in Georgia. I got a quick question on contract receipts, transmode A. Does it require code, and if it does, where can this code be found?
So that was a bug that was in EBS that was causing all of those to reject. I believe that that's been corrected. I'll have to double check. But you should be able to send that transaction up like you previously did without the carrier code now.
Yeah, works for me.
This is Beth Bridges from DFSP Norfolk. When you said we could go in and download the 1155 in place of the 250, where would I find that 1155?
The 1155 can be downloaded from DIBS.
Oh.
We will be providing to anybody that provided us their email address. Part of the information that we're going to disseminate after this meeting is a user guide on how to actually do that.
Okay, do we have to, I don't have an account in DIBS, so I have to register in there for that?
There's no required username or password or account creation as long as you're a DoD user.
Okay.
Actually, I believe it's almost open to everybody. What you'll need is your contract number and the actual order number, and you'll be able to pull any 1155 you need.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? We got anybody else?
Yeah. Go ahead.
This is Coulter over at Langley. I just have a quick question. Do you know when the update's going to be sent out so we don't have to delete the zero quantity sales out of the accounting ledger before we send them up?
Yeah, so everybody understands what the issue is. In the event that you have a 0-gallon transaction at your gas station, FES used to handle those differently than EBS. EBS actually causes a reject, so what Langley's asking is, what is the status of a system change to actually suppress those transactions so you do not get those rejects?
So the contractor that developed FMD is currently in the process of building a fix for that. We expect delivery of the fix sometime within the next 30 days. Make sure it doesn't break anything else, and then it'll be applied to production. That fix is going to be an enterprise only, so you don't have to actually have anything done at your local site for it.
Wonderful, thank you.
Sir, this is Rex Bedore again from Fort Benning, Georgia.
Hi.
My question is, I placed in 2 orders for MER and diesel, one MER, one diesel, and the diesel is not showing in the bids. I mean DIBS, but the diesel is, and I don't know why it's not showing.
Is it not showing in DIBS or is it not showing in EBP?
It's in the EBT. I ordered it, but it's not showing in the DIBS that that order is even placed.
Hey, Rex, go ahead and send us some information on that. If you can give us the contract number and whatever delivery order you have, and we'll take a look at that. It might be a syntax thing.
Yeah, this is the second time this happened. Previously, about a couple weeks ago, it happened, and I still ain't got that order, and now I did it again.
Yeah, Rex, there's
the information.
Rex, there's been a system bug in some cases where orders haven't been going to DIB. So if you pass us the information, we can track that down. Is exactly what happened.
So go ahead and send us a quick email at energy.asg@dla.mil, and we'll do that research and we'll get a response back to you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Hey, this is Tech Sergeant Vaughn again from Joint Base McGuire. I got I guess a statement and 2 questions. I'll try to get through it as quick as I can. Number one is that carrier code not being entered in there is still rejecting. We haven't received a fix for that yet. And then also a couple other questions are, right now a lot of our card numbers from when we're selling to the aircraft are rejecting back on our end, and we're having to go through and manually clear out every single card transaction, clear those numbers out. Are we looking at a fix for that? And then my last question is, right now I currently can only see my wash-through account contracts. I've checked all my AMPS rolls, and they are updated, but I haven't heard a fix or what I need to do in order to make sure that I can see all my contracts to place orders against.
All right, so send us an email with the details in your contract, and we'll get a ticket open and have somebody work that issue for you for your EVP access. It just sounds like you don't have access to everything yet.
Yeah, it's just showing me half my account. It's only showing me my direct buy.
Briefing.
Okay, we're again include the information about the aviation into plane reimbursement cards rejecting. What it sounds like is they probably don't have the proper line of accounting loaded against them. That's something we would have to work with the financial manager for the base on. But that would cause that. And
Yeah.
as far as your receipts go, you guys are receiving by truck? Commercial into-stock deliveries via regular truck?
So if you're experiencing the problem with the carrier codes rejecting, change the delivery mode to 9 local, and it'll process until we can get the details of what the problem that's causing that to happen.
Okay, thank you.
Sir, this is Juanina calling from Warfield ANG, and we've been receiving 68 error for all our sales transactions, and it says buyer's DODAC is invalid or missing in segment Z1 Sierra Victor.
So when you look at the transaction in FMD, do you have something listed in the buyer's DODAC field?
Yes, we do.
What type of DODAC are you listing?
The new DODAC.
Okay, so that brings up a very important point for everyone. Buyers do not use the SE DODAC. They're always going to be the same as they were before. The FPs, the Novembers, the Mikes, the Romeos. The only thing that changed is your seller DODAC. So that means if you're selling fuel to yourself, you're still selling it to your old DODAC. That SE DODAC is only there for your plant and for your inventory.
Does everybody understand that? With EBS, your plant ID or your seller's DODAC changed to the new DLA construct. The customers actually buying product from you did not change. So if you were FP 5000 before, your seller's DODAC has changed, but you should still be billing FP 5000 for home station aircraft. For home station customers, for ground products as well.
You may have to pick up the receiver.
Thank you.
This guy says we have not been able to process since the 1st of December. What's the time frame to get it?
Yeah, I know we're not the only bid going through this issue. Well, it would be a deep fuel and not a stamp. Maybe it'll process it.
Do we have any more questions out there?
Yeah, I'm the one that sent you that chat about that message 68 with the 2 different DODACs.
Yep.
I had sent fuel on the same day, once to one base and then to a different base, and I used the correct DODACs. I had them loaded into the machine the way we're supposed to, as far as our customer. And all the numbers were right on that second one. That was SE5 F2M, and it came back saying that the DODAC didn't match. Well, the other one that it's telling you is the first base fuel too.
Right. Okay, so
the only thing that should have changed was the document number from 01 to 02 for the second transaction, right? Yet it reflects everything back onto the first transaction's DODAC. I don't understand. Is that something to do with that stall number?
all right, we crossed multiple issues. What you were talking about was the contract delivery into stock.
They're here today. They're leaving.
Is this Camp Pendleton?
No. This is DFSP Love.
What's your Dodak?
What's your seller's Dodak?
Dodak would be SE5POC.
It's been flushing the main line to number 8. That's the farthest one on
Okay, we're looking at your account right now.
Yeah, see that one pink one?
the 130 over there.
Yep, taking a look at it right now.
Yeah, that's going down to Quonset, right? But it told me everything on that in the memo box. It told me that the Dodak doesn't match Barnes. Well, yeah, of course it doesn't match Barnes. I didn't send the stuff to Barnes. That was a different transaction altogether.
The issue is that nomination number that you're using is set up to feed, that stow number, which is like a nomination, is set up to go to Barnes. So
wait a minute, I'm sent one stow number for DFSP Ludlow for truck transactions going to several different bases, and then I've got another stow number for pipeline transaction to another base, and then I've got a stow number for receiving. Now, you gave me one. I asked about that too. Should I have a different stow number for each base that I'm going to ship to by truck? And he said no. One stow number cover all your
movement that you're doing.
Excuse me?
Each movement that you're doing. So anytime you move fuel, there should be a new stow number.
Yeah. Okay, so if I'm moving, let's say just what is it? F-19, I think it came up as. I'm not exactly sure, but the whole week I use the same stow number for that one base. But I should have a different stow number for some other base the same week, all by truck.
That's always fun.
That's what you're saying, right?
Yes.
Okay, because I brought that up and I was told, no, you only get one stow number for all your truck transactions, no matter where it goes. But that's wrong.
That appears to be wrong. If you would go ahead, send us an email. What we'll do is we'll talk with the planners, and we'll set up a.
What has to happen is whoever's the one that puts these nominations in. I don't do that, but whoever nominations has to put a nomination for one base, and there you would create two different stow numbers, one for the base, for me, and another nomination for another, and that would give two stow numbers. One for the base, one for me. And it will be like for every base I'm going to ship by truck, right? I can't just have one for truck. Follow me?
Yeah, I think we follow you. What we would like to do is go ahead and send us your information. We'll get the people in the room that we need to answer all your questions, and we'll set up a time that we can call you back, and we can work through all your issues.
Okay, so I'll just email you everything that I have in regards to all that. I think I still have them. I got them scanned anyways.
Yes, sir. Whatever you can send us, go ahead and send it at energy.asg@dla.mil.
Okay, the same one that I got the same address that I got the link from.
Very same address. Yep.
Okay, that's about my only question.
Okay. So just to clarify for everybody else on the call.
If I get a piece of this.
If you have a nomination that goes to multiple locations, then there is the potential for the stow number to be the same. There's currently a system issue causing some of those to reject. That's going to be fixed on Monday. So if you have one that's rejecting for that and you want to try to fix it yourself, just wait until Monday and resend the transaction.
Okay, then but that transaction's still pink right now. Should I just delete the thing and refeed it on Monday?
No, you should never delete the transaction. So download it to your local. Well, do you use FMD Enterprise or do you have a local one?
I'll tell you the truth, I'm not really sure what I'm using.
So,
do you have no one?
So the difference is, do you have a computer that's physically at your location that has FMD installed on it? Or are you just going to the FMD Enterprise URL?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing, to the URL.
Okay. So on Monday, save that transaction just like it is and resend it to EVS.
Now, by save it, that's uploaded?
No, when you open up the transaction down at the bottom, you have an option to save, delete.
Yeah.
All you need to do is click save.
Okay, now it's already saved, but it came back, of course, as a reject as in pink.
Yeah. What Tim's telling you is the system fix will probably fix that. So if you push that save button on Monday, it should go into the system, and you should get an SAP ID number back instead of the status 68 error.
Okay, so it's not going to double it up on me?
No, sir.
No, it's the same transactions that's just going to keep going back.
Okay, so you guys are going to notify us that the system has been fixed before I do something like that, right?
I'll send you an email.
Okay, in the meantime, should I be sending you all that stuff like we just talked about?
Yeah, go ahead and send us everything so we have all the information.
Okay. Okay, I'll send that out in a couple minutes.
Go.
Okay, do we have any other questions?
Yes. This is Staff Sergeant Brown from Joint Base McGuire Dix Lakehurst. I have a question about the DD Form 250.
Yes.
Way, and it was required by policy to be in our document control file.
Okay, so if you look at the policy, it tells you that the shipping document or the DD 250 can be used. So the ticket, the load ticket that the truck driver brings.
Okay.
You have to use one or the other.
Okay.
What the form number was here?
And the new form number, is it 1150 you said it was?
No, this is not the 1155. This is the actual invoice that the truck driver brings with him that says, here's how much fuel I'm bringing you.
Well, we retain that too, but...
Okay.
Yeah, that's all you have to have.
All right, thank you very much.
The 1155 is additional information that you can go obtain for your ease of putting information in F&D.
All right, thank you very much.
I got one more question. When I hit the button that says print this form, after I do a transaction, I'm looking for a 1348-7 to be printed. It comes up with a crazy message that but it won't print the form.
Who's your RO?
Me.
You're the RO? All right, I can get that fixed
I'm
for
the
you.
only guy up here, so you want to come up with any acronym on the planet, I'm it.
Okay, we just got to make sure you're set up in the system as the recipient of that, and those will process for you.
Okay, that won't just print locally, right?
Right.
Okay, it goes down, hits the server, bounces back, and then it prints.
No, this will just print it locally, wherever you want to print it at.
Any other questions out there?
Yes.
McGuire, you guys were good. McGuire, Fort Dix, you were good with the fact that you now use the load ticket as the auditable document in your daily control folder? I'll take silence as consent. Do we have any other questions?
Yes.
Go ahead. Hello? Yeah, I can hear you.
That's a favor coming from Fort Bragg. I'm trying to, when do I go to get a copy of the 1150?
The 1155, we will be sending out instructions on how to obtain that document.
All right, thank you.
Make sure, again, while I've got everybody on the phone, if you have not already done so, please make sure that you type your email address in the chat box on your DCO connection. We are going to use that as the list of attendees, and we will be disseminating information regarding any of the stuff we talked about after this meeting. So the instructions on how to obtain your DD Form 1155 will be one of those emails. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have any others?
I have a question. For the 0 gallon errors, do you want us? Can we delete those, or do you want us to just wait for the patch?
As of now, you should be deleting those. Once they come back to you as a status code 68, go ahead and delete those. Those will mark them as deleted in your local ledger. You won't see them anymore. And as soon as the fix goes in within the next 2 months, you won't have to worry about those anymore.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yep. Next question, please.
How long does it accept it to get on the system? Still waiting for a message from the help desk.
Who is this and what's the question?
Bill from Fort Myers, Virginia.
Hi, Bill.
Hey, I'm still waiting on being accepted, for that email from the help desk. I haven't processed anything since 1 December.
Okay, so your account is still being reconciled in the legacy system by the inventory management branch. As soon as they finish reconciling it, you'll get the email saying your site's been activated. You're an express-only site, so it's going to be a little bit of catch-up for you to do. Have you already submitted your 2921?
Oh, yeah, we submitted that in November.
Okay, I'll follow up with the inventory guys today for you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
This is Rex Fedora, Fort Benning, Georgia.
Hi, Rex.
I have the same problem now. I talked to Jeff Walter. He told me my account was reconciled, and he was waiting for DLA or the help desk to go ahead and send me the information, and that was 3 days ago, and I still hadn't gotten anything.
So again, everybody understands part of the cutover, we're responsible to actually make sure that your old account is reconciled prior to creating your new account in EBS, because you will not be able to go back to the old system to make any corrections or modifications. So the process of converting over 300 and something locations from a go-live date of 1 December, you guys went into a queue. And as the queues are being worked, there's multiple steps involved in actually cutting over and establishing the new inventory. So if you submitted your 2921 on the beginning of the month, the help desk notified you that your account's been in process. What's waiting is the inventory management office to make sure that all the information is correct in your system. We have the right things, and actually to go ahead and get loaded. So we're coming up on the tail end of those numbers. Again, over 300 locations are coming in with this rollout, but you should be seeing something fairly shortly. And again, if more time goes by and you want to follow up on that, you can follow up with either the DLA Energy Help Desk, or if you need us to specifically look into your situation, go ahead and send us that email at energy.asg@dla.mil, and we'll do some research for you.
And now, what if we don't hear anything by the end of the month? Because I'm going on vacation here next week. I'm going back until after New Year's.
Which site did you say you were at?
Fort Myers, Virginia.
Oh, Fort Myers.
We'll go ahead and send us an email. So I got your your contact information specifically. Put in the subject Fort Myers question, and we'll go ahead and see if we can get some information for you, and we'll go ahead and respond directly back to you.
Yeah, this is Johnny Castillo from Pina. I made a note of that also.
Okay, thanks, Johnny.
Yeah.
Johnny, yeah.
You got another question out there?
Yes, this is Mr. Lovelace from Fort Riley.
Hi.
I attempted to put in a JP8 receipt into the system, and according to the 1348-7, I'm within tolerance, but when I attempt to put it into the system, it's saying I'm out of tolerance, and I need to submit a TDR.
Can you give me your data?
Sierra Echo 5 Alpha 0 Mike.
And when was the receipt?
The date of it was 3 December.
Worker. And what product was it?
JP8.
Okay, so Riley, we're going to do a little research. We're going to go ahead and jump back to you once we've actually looked at your transaction. Do we have any other questions in the meantime?
No, that's it for now.
Okay. Anybody else on the line? Next question, please. Did we actually exhaust all the questions? I can barely hear you, but I think I heard Fort AP Hill.
Yeah, it's Fort AP Hill.
Okay.
When all of us sites that haven't been initialized yet get initialized, can we get you back on the phone for some answers?
Absolutely.
I know I'm going to have about 100 questions. I just don't know what they be because I haven't been on there.
Okay, well, like I said before, we are going to disseminate some job aids as part of this this professional enhancement session. We will be holding some more in the very near future, probably. So if you guys have any issues, any questions, you don't specifically know what you need to do in any situation, please always feel free to contact the DLA Energy Help Desk. They may not be able to answer the question right there, but what they'll do is they'll take all the information and they'll funnel it to the experts.
Okay, thanks, guys.
So Fort Riley,
Yes.
the reason you're having that issue is because you're not inputting anything for the shipped quantity.
The ship's quantity?
Yeah, you gotta put something there or throw it right back at you. Learn that the hard way.
Well, and listen, I did. I think when I put ferment, I put a date in there, and maybe the ship quantity went away.
Well, you filled out the net quantity and the quantity, but not the
shipped quantity.
Quantity.
Yeah, we got multiple quantities here. You actually have to populate that shipped quantity, and that transaction should post for you.
Okay, all right, thanks. I'll give it a try.
Okay?
Hello?
Yes, can hear you.
Hi, this is Sukata. I'm calling from the NES Lemoore, California. And since
Hi.
our FMD database for the FMD6 is closed, and I need to run a report on a sub-DODAC, a John.
Right.
Where would I go to get that information?
As you're looking about running your FMD query, or you're looking at running that in the old FES?
The old one. I need some information from way back, like years backwards.
Okay, the FES should still be available to you. What part of the conversion was just removing your ability to upload transactions to it. But if you had an account in it, we didn't terminate your account. You still have the ability to go in there and do research.
Okay.
Now, for everybody that's been converted, in your local FMD databases, all your old information is there, and it should be visible to you. So if you need to do a query about past consumption or past sales, and you would normally look that up in your local FMD instance, all those transactions will still be there for you.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. You have any other questions out there?
Yeah, this is Juanina from Warfield ANG.
Hi.
I had asked a question regarding the Era 68 on our sales.
Right.
Would I be correct if I made the assumption the reason as to why we are not getting the SAP ID is because all our transactions have not been accepted in EBS because of that?
Absolutely. So everybody on the phone is crystal clear. When EBS accepts your transaction, we send back an acknowledgement. That acknowledgement is a unique number for that transaction. That's why looking to make sure that that transaction has an SAP ID number is so important to you. So in this case, instead of getting an acceptance by presenting an SAP ID number, this base has received an error code 68, meaning that that transaction is rejected. And again, the reason it rejected was because they were billing the DLA stock point DODAC and not their home station customer DODAC. So for those transactions, you simply have to go in, put in your actual DODAC for those sale transactions, resend them to the system, and you should get back your SAP ID number, no longer a 68.
Sir, and also, just to be clear, once I upload my VCF file, there is nothing else that I need to do, and all the transactions should be sent to EBS. Is that correct?
Once you send up your VCF file, they go into the system and they begin to process. We ask that people wait about 20 minutes for that processing time to go through, and then initiate the follow-on steps. Those were the steps that Scott had laid out in the beginning of this briefing, and we will be providing you a copy of the briefing, so you'll have those steps.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have a question?
Yes, Mike Burnett, DFSP, Bremen, Georgia.
Hi, Mike.
STO question again on shipment transfers. We are to use our STO number or the shipping to STO number?
Mike, I apologize. We're having trouble hearing you. Could you speak up a little?
In shipment transfers, to use our STO number in each shipment transfer, or are we to use the basis that we're shipping to STO number?
So you should be using the one that is sent to you in the email for that nomination. The base has their own, which when the two of them meet in EBS, they marry up and say, "Yep, I go with you," and they're all happy.
That makes sense, Mike. The receiving activity is going to get an email with their STO number. You, as the shipping activity, should be getting a receipt with a different STO number. And the system uses those two numbers to match the movement and actually close out that stock order transfer.
Okay, I got an email showing all my basis STO number for each week of December. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. So when you actually put in the shipment transaction for one of those specific locations that you're doing a shipment to, you would put in that STO number. And like I said, when they process their receipt, they're going to put in the STO number that they got in their email that they were expecting a shipment from you. When those two transactions post into EBS, EBS will know that they're supposed to marry up with each other. If they both match, it'll go ahead and close out that stock order transfer.
Okay. What about on my receipt?
On your receipts for your shipper, you should be getting a separate email as a receiving activity, and that should provide you with your receiving STO number.
And if I haven't gotten that, who do I need to contact to get that?
Okay, so let's clarify on your delivery. You're getting an FOB destination delivery movement, or you're coming from another intermediate DFSB?
Oh, we're getting them direct.
Okay, so it's a customer direct.
So you have a contract number, so there's no STO number associated with it.
Yeah, what you're actually processing is a contract receive transaction into stock, and you should be following those instructions that we provided out on how to process a contract receipt. So you'll be using your contract number, you'll be using your order number, you'll be using the shipment number, which is, like Scott mentioned before, is a construct. It's DLA, month, day, and then a CLIN of 0001 and whatever the quantity shipped was. And that transactional process. In this type of transaction, you won't have a STO number.
Okay. All right.
Okay?
Thank you.
No problem. Anybody else have a question?
Vanderberg. Are we going to be able to get these PowerPoint emailed to us?
Absolutely. If you went ahead and followed the instructions and put your email address in the say box on the chat for DCO, what we will do after this meeting is we'll go through and we'll pull out everybody's email address and we will share any information we have with you.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Are you going to be sending those two links that were on this presentation for the manuals?
We will actually be sending you the presentation, and you'll get the links inside them.
That's cool.
And I highly encourage anybody that has not seen the CBT to actually go through. It only takes about an hour, but there's a lot of good information in there and probably answers almost every question that we discussed today.
This is for Indian Town Gap. I got folks heading down to Coggins and Atlanta over the next couple of months.
Are they going to be updating their information?
Yes.
The training?
Yes.
So everybody knows that we try and keep our formal training program up to date as often as possible. So as some process or procedure or system changes, we immediately on the spot update the training material. So for the Indian Town Gap, you guys should be coming back with the most current information.
Thank you.
Yep. Next question, please.
All right, I got two that just came.
If you guys went ahead and typed in an email question in the DCO session and we didn't answer it, please go ahead and ask your question on the phone. If not, what we'll do is we'll go back through the DCO session later. Again, we have a lot of people, a lot of participants, and we have a lot of information flying really fast. So if we for some reason missed it and you didn't ask it over the phone, we will go back to you with a response if we have your contact information. So if we haven't answered something that you typed, please feel free to go ahead and ask that on the phone right now.
This is Jerry Hazen from Montana Air National Guard. Just wondering, 1884s, where do we find them now since we've been converted?
The beauty of the conversion is you will never utter the term 1884 report again.
I like that.
Yes, we do too. So your supply planner is now monitoring your account. It's no longer waiting for you to actually ask for fuel. So we have an entire new function within our organization who does what they were waiting for your 1884 report in the past. So that function is gone, so you will never have to process another 1884 report again. We got any other questions out there?
To the ledger, but you got to get authorization to get up to the ledger.
I think I hear some conversations that might result in a question. We can help answer.
What happens if you delete one, delete a transaction?
Okay, as far as the system goes, you never actually delete anything. You mark it for delete. What that does is that tells the system that it was an erroneous transaction. It was not meant to go in. It marks it as hidden. It no longer affects your ledger. So if you issued 1,000 gallons and then you had a bad transaction that showed that you actually issued a total for that day 15,000 gallons, whatever that is, it would come back out of that calculation. So it in essence takes it out. As far as the ledger calculations, it'll never go anywhere again, but it's still in your system.
You got to run a script to get rid of that?
No, it'll be there. It'll show up as marked for delete. But as far as an accounting system, it'll be there forever.
Okay, so let's say you put the wrong amount in, you're better off going to reverse and update.
If you put the wrong amount in, yes, you need to reverse that transaction out if it was actually accepted. If you have an SAP ID number for that transaction, you would reverse it, you would update it, and resend it, and make sure that you get an SAP ID acknowledgement.
If you deleted it and it wasn't in a reject status, you're going to run into issues. Now your ledgers aren't going to match up.
Yeah. Now I have one that was rejected, and I just deleted it and tried again.
Yeah, if you deleted that one, that's fine. What you should do is just correct.
It hangs around though. It's still like a ghost in there.
It will be there forever. This is an accounting system, and there is a auditability piece of it.
On the left side in FMD, there's a section that says configuration and then one that says site. There's a check mark when you go there that says show deleted transaction or hide deleted transactions. If you don't want to see it, you hide the deleted transactions.
Okay, so if
Oh, okay, then if it's on your ledger, so if you hit that day and that like if it's a shipment and you could on that day of the shipment that it was deleted from, it still shows up when you get that little block that shows all the transactions that day.
It still shows up if the show deleted check mark is.
Oh, it would show up too. It would show the original, and then it'd show one in parentheses being the minus, right?
Okay, so that's a reversal. That's not a deletion.
Okay, now the deletion, it just shows it as being there, and what's it showing up? Like 0 or?
If it's a deletion, the little edit icon will look different on it.
Oh, okay.
And when you point at it, it'll ask you if you want to undelete it. That's if you've got everything set to show you the deleted transactions. If it's not set to show you the deleted transactions, then you're just not going to see it.
Okay.
Now, for the rejected transactions, it's always best to just correct that one and send it back.
Okay, so long as it's rejected.
Right.
Whatever that it says in the comments box down below, just take care of whatever it is that you screwed up on. Resend.
And then resend it. And if for some reason, I don't know if we mentioned this in this briefing, but it's I'm sure we did, but it's worth mentioning again. If you have a transaction that you have not received an SAP ID number or a reject or some other reason for over 24 hours, we need you to contact the BSME help desk so we can look into that transaction and make sure that it made it through the system. So if you sent sales today and by tomorrow you followed all the steps, you downloaded your acknowledgement file, and those transactions haven't received an SAP ID number, please go ahead and call the BSME help desk or the DLA Energy help desk. Give them the information about that transaction, and we will go in and do some research to make sure that find out what happened with it. Okay?
Okay, so just no more deleting.
Yeah, deleting is...
Oh, wait a minute. You can delete something if you haven't sent it yet, right?
Yeah, if you put it in and you realize, though, I probably shouldn't have put this in, you can go ahead and delete it. Now,
but once you send it, then it's locked into the system somewhere.
Yeah. Once you've sent it, you've committed it to the system, and then there needs to be an audit trail on what happened to it.
Okay, so you get an email saying, what'd you do this for?
No, it'll just be in your database, and for some reason, if somebody had to actually go back and figure out what happened, we would look there.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, we got any other questions from anyone else?
Yeah, Mike at NASJRB Fort Worth.
Okay, Fort Worth, go ahead.
Hey, I got a question. Do you know when they're supposed to fix the TXU for Texas instead of having DL2? We were told that we'd have to start ordering DSS, which is red dyed diesel. We can't do that.
We would actually have to talk to the item managers for the NSNs. Go ahead and send us an email with that question, and we'll coordinate with them and see if we can't get you a response.
And I've got a help ticket out on it already because it just says it's not loaded, the product's not loaded.
Yeah, go ahead and include the help desk ticket as well. We'll pull all that information together, and we'll reach out and contact them and figure out what's going on.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
This is Fort Riley, Lovelace again. When I download, when I put in my transactions from the site, from a site, sometimes we do transfers from one site to the next site, and I delete that PRN file, that particular cell from the PRN prior to bringing it into the FMD.
Right.
So it wouldn't even show up in my ledger. Would it be okay to do that?
I'll delete it now.
No. You what you're basically saying is, after you've exported the PRN file and you've brought it over, what you're asking is, should you open the file and take out the 0 gallon transactions?
Yes.
Yeah, it's not advisable. That is a comma delimited text file, and if for some reason you didn't do the modification correctly, you could very much create a malformed file, which will actually screw up every single transaction that it tried to import.
Okay.
So it's the proper process for you guys right now is to go ahead and import your PRN file, let those 0-gallon transactions hit your ledger, send them up, wait for them to come back 68, and go ahead and mark them as deleted.
Okay.
Okay? And like we mentioned before, the fix is within 30 to 60 days out. That'll be applied against the FMD Enterprise server, and we'll just absorb those transactions. You'll get an acknowledgement, and you'll never have to deal with them.
Okay, thanks.
Okay?
All right.
Any more questions?